Well, our guest today is Mr. Jon Erwin. Jon, thank you so much for chatting with me.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's cool to much of my career has been in Christian music,
Yeah,
and all the way back to the music videos that Andy and I did years ago. So, telling the story of David and House of David, this is like the original Christian musician. This is like the Christian Bob
absolutely.
Dylan. This is like the goat of Christian music. Is
Yeah,
the story that I'm telling right now.
absolutely. Well, let's get into it. Do you mind telling us the vision and why you wanted to be a part of this project, The House of David?
I've been dreaming of House of David since I was 16 years old. I got to go to Israel with my dad. He bought me a camera with money he didn't have, and we went to Israel, and the Bible just sprang to life. It was awe-inspiring, and it was like the stories just came to life right in front of my eyes. And we stayed in the old city of Jerusalem, this place called Christ Church. And so we were walking around the old city of Jerusalem at night. It's like Indiana Jones or something. And I remember we went to King David's tomb, and I was just awe-inspired by the legacy and legend of this person. They say there's like two deaths. There's the moment that you die and the moment that the last person speaks your name. So 3,000 years later, we're not only talking about him, we're singing his songs. David and Goliath has become three words synonymous with the underdog. This is like one of the ultimate hero's journey stories. And so right there, that was the spark of curiosity, and a profound spark of curiosity. And then as my film career started, music started in sports television, started doing music videos for many Christian artists as sort of a training ground, and then started doing movies. The first script I ever wrote was for David, and it was one of those things where it was like the ultimate story that I wanted to tell as a filmmaker, and just assumed somebody else would do it, and I would be a fan of that. And so I'm blown away that I'm getting to tell the story. It's something that I've been working towards my whole career, and I think this is my first television series. And I think the reason there's probably not some definitive movie on the life of David is just because the story is too big. It's just this
Yeah.
odyssey of a life. And so this did seem to be the way to tell the story, was to really unpack it in chapters. And even the first season of House of David is basically the runtime of my last four films combined. And so it's wonderful to be able to really explore the characters in this early part of his life over that amount of time. And I love what we've made, and I can't wait for the audience to see it.
Yeah. I did get to watch the first three episodes, and man, the cast is stellar.
Yeah.
Wonderful job. Can you tell us the process of selecting the castmate? People.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, it starts with a great collaborator in John Gunn. We've written five movies together, and then whatever either Andy and I or myself and Brent McCorkle in the case of Jesus Revolution are not directing. John directs like Ordinary Angels or Unbreakable Boy that's coming out. And but he just brings such a humanity to everything he does. And then I love to bring scope and scale and
Sure.
love explosions and epic shots. And so it was this great fusion of our talents that we finally actually got to direct together and really craft something fully together. And and I credit the authenticity of the cast to him, and just a relentless search for a great cast. And the cast is wonderful. And then we looked at hundreds of people, thousands of people overall, but hundreds for David.
Yeah.
And I remember the moment that we were looking through tapes, and Courtney, one of our producers, she came running in with a laptop, and it was Michael's audition in New York, and we all instantly got really excited, and I just in my bones I knew that this was our kid, and I got on a red eye and said I wanted to meet him the next morning, and we spent 3 hours together, and just he has such an inner light and a conviction and a depth of soul. He's also a brilliant musician. He's also an athlete, and so he was just this perfect
Mm.
kid, and this is his first role, first of many. So I feel like a very proud coach, watching a superstar athlete just emerge right in front of me, and I could not be more proud of him. But I was reviewing the episodes; I had not seen them in a long time because I've been working on them individually. Stephen Ali Asal, he's brilliant in the
Mm.
role, and every cast, Ethan as Jonathan is amazing. The whole cast, Indy as Michal is like a face to cross oceans for, and she has such depth. And I just don't think there's a bad performance in the whole show. And the cast is really interesting, and I think the highlight of the show.
Yeah, you got Stephen Lang. I mean, that's
Oh, the
that's
great, by the way,
awesome.
probably the best actor I've ever worked with. When
Yeah.
Steven's name came up, his parents are Jewish. He I've never seen a prophet in the Bible portrayed like that is a prophet. When you read the Bible, you know, when he came to anoint David, all the elders are like, "Do you come in peace?" Almost like a Western. Like,
Mm,
you're not going to cause a problem here, are you? They were terrified of this guy. So there was something formidable about these prophets. And so I really enjoyed working with him. I'm like, this guy is perfect. I love him in Avatar. I love him in Tombstone. I love him in
yeah,
Gettysburg. And he's just an iconic actor that
sure.
disappears into roles, and he crushes it in this show.
Yeah. And the guy that plays Goliath, Martin Ford, he's like a for real bodybuilder in real life. And I looked up his height and it said 6'8". And I was like, well, he's not Goliath height, but he's a big dude, it sounds like.
Here's the thing, though, he's Goliath broad. I always
Yeah.
thought Thanos was like the build I wanted, and Martin is one of the best. He's in the Mortal Kombat movies. He's in Roland's show, Those About to Die on Peacock, the Gladiator show, and he is a enormous and formidable guy. There was even a question on, and that's before we make him 10 feet tall. There was even a question on the internet. When the trailer came out, like, was David really afraid? Because if you read the Bible, he was just like, you come at me with sword and spear.
Mhm.
I come in the name of the Lord God. I'm like, I dramatized it. Yes, David would have been terrified. I was terrified. Like, even when it was just Martin and the 100 extras that we had, let alone the 100,000 that we were going to add, David would have been terrified to step on that battlefield. And yet that's what faith is, isn't it? It's stepping beyond your
Yeah,
fear. It's not
sure.
being afraid. And Martin is a wonderful guy, wonderful to work with, laughs every day, has this great attitude, incredibly dedicated. And I remember talking to him at the very end, and I'm like, man, I guess it's a spoiler alert, but it's in the Bible. I'm like,
He's
Martin, I don't know
short.
what to
His
do.
character don't survive that
I
long.
know, I don't know what to do, Martin, because I love working with you, but this is based off a bestseller, and the fans really are going to expect us to follow the plot. So I got to kill you. He's like, we could do a prequel. We can do a backstory. We can, and I'm like, but he's just wonderful to work with, and
Sure.
really brings his A game and a humanity to the role. It's an epic clash at the end, put it that way.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the music behind this. We're a music podcast for King and Country covering the classic U2 song 40. That's pretty awesome. And of course, we'd like to know, what else is the music? What else do you have
Yeah, one of
going
the
on with
things
it?
that I love about even the music in the show is just the power of music in general and how words can endure. And to think that, I remember sitting with Joel and we were doing what I wanted to do was an album of artists today paying homage to the great songwriter David and sort of like artists today covering these words of David. And I remember sitting for coffee with Joel, and Joel's always got some for King Country. Joel never thinks small. And he's
Hmm.
like, what I would love to do is cover U2's Psalm 40. And I'm like, oh man, I mean, you've not lived until you've gone to a U2 show and heard them sing Psalm 40. And they're singing this 3,000-year-old song by King
Yeah.
David. And so we're like, is that possible? So we had to get approval, and the band had to say yes. U2 had to say yes, which they did. And so then Joel and Luke did this magnificent cover. So there's a whole album of songs inspired by the show and songs derived from the Psalms. And then also, Michael himself is an amazing musician and was so dedicated that he bought a lyre off, like, I don't know where he got it online somewhere. And he learned to play it magnificently. And then he started to learn the songs. And then he was the one that suggested that we record the music in Hebrew. So that part of the show is as authentic as you could, like the closest thing that we could possibly get to. This is exactly what King David or this boy would have sounded like playing music for Saul. And there's just a rhythm and depth and beauty to doing the songs in Hebrew. And they're beautiful. And so the music on the show is all, it's all recorded live. It's all his voice. And it's mesmerizing
Hmm.
and at times haunting and comforting, and it's really, really amazing. And it just reminded me that this is one of, not only one of the most famous kings, this is one of the great musicians
Yeah.
of all time.
Yeah. We're excited to hear it. And I think I don't know if there was any other artist, but the only other artist that I could think of that's ever covered 40 was DC Talk, back in the day. And
That's
so,
right.
yeah, I think that's the only other cover I've ever heard of that song was by
Here's
them. So,
here's the thing. We did over COVID, a documentary on Christian music,
yeah.
and I would love, as a fan, I'm saying, when is the DC Talk reunion?
Yours is,
Any price for
yeah,
that ticket. If Toby or Tate, or any of them are listening,
yeah,
come on. We talked about it then. You were right on the edge.
right. And then
You want
COVID
that
hit.
concert, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's
Well, John, House of David comes out the 27th. What else do you guys have coming up for this year? And how can our viewers and listeners catch up on you guys?
well, the amazing thing about television, I'd love to keep telling the story. And so I'd love to, this is the first global release I've ever been involved in. It's on Prime Video all over the world. Let's again let our voices be heard, that this is the kind of entertainment that we want. And I hope people really enjoy the show. This is my first time that this is the first time I've not asked people to get out of their houses. I'm like, you don't have to leave your home. It's like, sit on your couch, turn on
Yeah,
Prime, and we'll be right there with you. It's kind of cool. But we have many, many, many projects, films, and television series that we're making with Amazon and others. And I can't wait to tell you about them. And some have been announced, and I think some have not. And so I'll get myself in trouble. But we really are trying to, what we say with one of our projects is projects that restore hope and restore belief, restore faith in things worth
sure.
believing in. There's just things that are still worth believing in, and stories can restore faith in those things. And our dream is to have an independent studio that can tell these stories. And if MGM can be celebrating 100 years, that's the first logo on our trailer. Like, why can't we? And so that's the goal and dream. And we have many more stories to tell. But this is definitely a career highlight for me, and something that I've always wanted to do. And I can't wait for people to see it.
Well, House of David is out on the 27th. So excited. And now is all of the first season will be out on the 27th or?
3 episodes on the 27th, and then
Okay.
weekly until the finale. And what's amazing is right around the time of the finale of House of David, The Chosen season 5 will be in theaters. And so it really is like this year of the Bible. It's really
Yeah.
the way all of this is happening kind of at the same time. So I'm privileged to be in the mix of these storytellers that are we're just trying to. There's a psalm where David says, magnify God with me, let's exalt his name together. And that's what I feel like we're doing. We're just trying to do it the best we can. It feels a lot like the early days of Christian music. It really does. And we hope that there's many more artists behind us that will outshine and outperform us, so we can pave the way for them. So yeah, House of David's 27th on Prime Video. Check it
Great.
out.